And so, another week has come and gone, and here we were once again. We were facing down against 3 Finn commanders. Each one of them had slightly different augmentations done to their body. One of them had something all along his main body, like, circuitry and all kinds of weird little pipes and stuff. Another guy had something done to his arms, and the other one had something done to his legs. And these guys, being Finns, are basically like big old shark dudes, right? So they had just ported themselves in. And as they did so, it was pretty much go time once again. We got right into the combat, and the first thing that happened was that Mr. Smith came in as a dragon with his, really awesome new murder robot, Kensei, and they started laying into one of them pretty bad. And right as they were doing that, Vyers was non-present, as well as Becky, unfortunately, because they had been tossed out of the action last week by Champion. Not necessarily hurt or damaged or anything like that, but the tank that they were in was literally just thrown practically into the next county, so they weren't anywhere nearby for this particular encounter. But Ramona was there, and all of Vyers' minions were there. So Ramona went stealth mode, and she was trying to approach them because she had a plan in mind with her other selves, which she had actually gone through and made another copy, and it too became purely sentient and separate from herself, and yet at the same time still herself. So she had a plan with her triplets, so to speak, that she was going to attempt to sneak up on them and use stun wands because they had a lot of flesh exposed. So my thought was, hey, we can stun them pretty easily. But aside from that, we had all of the other minions, which in total was 7 at the time, because the 8th one had taken poor Zephyr off the battlefield because he had gotten so mauled by Champion towards Becky and Vyers so that he could hopefully get himself healed up. Meanwhile, Dr. Destruction was being tended to in the back of the Zeppelin, and we totally shut up the one guy, but it was doing next to nothing to him. And the reason that it was doing next to nothing to him, apparently, as was observed by Kensei and Mr. Smith, the guy that we were shooting was resisting the energy weapons very heavily, and in fact mostly not getting damaged by them at all, even though I had been rolling some pretty decent damage with all of the minions. So with that happening, we were beating on another one of them pretty badly when actually no, it was the first guy in front that we were actually beating on pretty badly, because everyone else had decided to attack him with non-energy weapons. And as he was getting trashed up, he switched places with one of the other guys, and so we started beating that guy up instead. Meanwhile, the guy with the legs, the like hyper-powered legs, jumped at the Zeppelin, crashed in through the front window, and started to attack Warmonger. And he actually slammed him back in his seat, but he didn't actually damage him. But he was shaken because all of Warmonger's minions, there were 6 of them inside the Zeppelin, opened fire on him and got him to be stunned at least. They didn't actually hurt him too much, but he was stunned. So when he was stunned, Warmonger, he snuck off away from him while he was still shaken, and he used the ejection seat in the Zeppelin to launch the guy up inside of a special little, a life capsule pod that sealed around him, and then shot him into the air with a parachute and the Scorpion logo on it and everything. And so this poor Finn was what the hell is even happening? He's looking around trying to figure out what he's even going to do. Meanwhile, there's like a little service announcement telling you, this is in case of emergency procedures. If you find yourself inside of this escape pod, you were obviously inside of the Zeppelin. This is how you should take care of yourself, and blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, while he was just about getting ready to break himself out of the pod and whatnot, we had gone through and beaten on the guy that had gotten places changed with him, because he had like electric stuff coming out of his hands and all kinds of weird stuff like that. So that guy was out and fighting us too, and we ended up fighting with him pretty badly. And in fact, Slayer and Kensei basically ended up laying into him pretty bad, getting him to the point where he was almost ready to go down, and then my minions firing squatted him till he was down. And when the guy who had like switched places with him had his turn, he actually did a really weird move where Ramona and Mr. Smith and Kensei had to make agility rolls, because what the guy basically did was he moved wounds off of the guy that was down to Mr. Smith and to the other Finn that was within range. But this only happened because the Finn that had gotten knocked into range, he was there because he was still inside that capsule thing. And so he got a wound on him that was transferred from the guy that was down, so that guy could possibly get up. But while that happened, my minions basically attacked once again, and this time they made him go down yet again. And in his attempt to try and change things up, the guy switched places one more time. And as he switched places, Kensei and Slayer came in and they just beat the living snot out of him. And the guy, realizing that his friend was down and he probably couldn't get him back up again, ran over and he tried... actually, he couldn't do it against... by giving it to us, because there was no one else nearby that could take it. So he decided to try and heal that guy by putting the wounds on himself. And then Slayer and Kensei beat the crap out of the guy that had just gotten healed before he could get up off the ground. And then my minions basically went through and made a pincushion out of him and shot him to death too. And the other guy that was in the capsule pod got shot by all of Warmonger's minions and Warmonger himself while he was in the capsule pod, and they were all down and out and taken care of. Afterwards, we were basically given time to do whatever we felt like doing, because those guys were the main resistance. We took the belts from them. Ramona, Warmonger, and who else was it? Ramona, Warmonger, and Grigori, that's right, went up to the space station that controlled all the drones, and Warmonger went through and he made them basically go into full shutdown mode before we destroyed the station. And after, by basically planting a bunch of bombs on it and stuff, then we used the special belts that because the only reason that 3 of them went up was because the Finns that we fought had these special teleporter belts that would take them specifically there and back. So we used those belts to get back, and afterwards, we could see that with all the drones and stuff disabled, because they were the bulk of the Visori invasion, resistance cells started actually pulling through and winning. The Visori themselves were beaten back for the most part. We had been given coordinates to the Scorpion commander, where he had been being held in like an internment camp by the Visori. And so we went through to start breaking free Scorpion itself and the commander, which was like little to no problem. It was like, at that point, there was nothing left to really resist this, so it was just story mode. And after we saved him and everything, it turned out that Scorpion commander was kind of going a little bit on the nutsy side, and he, while he had been imprisoned, he had decided that the Vizori were seeing things right, and that the only way to do it was to take over the world at a global scale, and they should be bloodier and all this other stuff. And so Warmonger basically had gone through at this time, and he had Grigori put him into a coma intentionally while claiming that he was going to give him medical attention, and then he put him into like a cryostasis chamber and just froze him rather than kill him. And after that happened, basically that was it. We pretty much defeated the Vizori. Everyone was left to their own devices. So for each character there was different little things. Zephyr, because he managed to survive, went back and restored his family honor and name, and went back to being a millionaire and being pretty happy with that life. Warmonger would continue not only to rebuild Scorpion, but thanks to having the time to rebuild Khan was brought back to life and able to accompany him, and they planned to take the moon, because why the hell not? As for Mr. Smith, he retired in the lap of luxury, which was just the good life that he had always wanted. Vyers would go on and go back to his usual skeevy business of running maid cafes and the like, occasionally robbing banks just for the fun of it, and eternally advertising that his wonderful and faithful assistant Ramona had gone and helped bring about the salvation of humankind. It would also turn out that he and Ramona would end up getting engaged and married and all the other good stuff that goes along with that. Becky remained his secretary, as she had only had interest in being close to those in power. She would continue to be his secretary and do her own little thing, whatever that may be. And, well, that's... As for Grigori, of course, he was able to revive Champion and turn him into a zombie that he could personally use as his personal pet to do whatever the hell Grigori wanted him to do. Unfortunately, there were those that passed on, which included Dr. Destruction himself. He did not survive the battle. Quite sadly, he didn't make it. Warmonger was given an address, and he was able to give the news to Dr. Destruction's wife, and so she was informed of his passing and distraught, but nonetheless, that was how that story unfortunately ended. And so that was how the villains of Necessary Evil ended up saving humanity from the Vizori, if not themselves. And that's going to be the end of this series. I will continue to do blogs on Wednesdays as a habit in general. I'm not sure what game we will be playing next, or if we will be playing a game soon. I'm probably not going to be playing games for another week or two, so in those couple of weeks, I'm going to just find something to blog about. So keep yourselves in your seats and enjoy that when it comes along. And of course, when I'm doing that, if I'm not on the road and it's not, midnight and stuff like it is right now, well, not midnight, but it's like 9 in the evening. If it's not like this, you'll probably be able to see my face a lot better. I may have better camera quality, as I may actually be at home and whatnot, and other good stuff. So until next time, I hope you enjoyed the story, I hope you had fun, and have yourselves a good one.